Got all the tappets in, head gaskets on, cleaned everything up. I think I'm ready to put this head on here. So we're getting there. Head's over here ready to go. Kind of transferred everything from the other head to this head. Everything that I needed anyway. Okay, I just finished torquing up the head. You can see that I number the bolt. I start with about 20 foot-pounds, going to 40, then I go to 65. So I go all the way around 20 foot-pounds, and then another time all the way around 40, and then the final is 65 foot-pounds. After you run it for a while, you let it warm up, you're going to retorque all that anyway, but yeah, it's not good to just torque them all to 65 all at once. And then I hooked up the oil transfer tube in the back, put new copper seals on. So this banjo here I just bolted on, made sure the bottom was still tight. That's pretty important tube there. Your whole upper end will not get oil if something's going wrong there. And that bolt that goes through the banjo, you need to make sure that little hole in it is clean. You got to make sure that the hole on the bottom of this rocker shaft mount is clean. Make sure all that's clean, there's no debris, because all you need is one of those little holes to get plugged up and the whole top end won't get any oil. When I first bought this truck and I took apart the engine, I found that whoever worked on it last didn't know that this bolt has a little nipple on it that times the rocker shaft, and so they had it out of phase, and so this whole top end wasn't getting any oil because the hole down here was just basically plugged up, so there was no oil getting to the top end, and that's probably why the rocker shaft was pretty well worn out when I got it. I'm getting ready to adjust the valves now, and for this camshaft, there's a little bit of a change as far as the gap is concerned. ACR, they say, of course everyone knows it's 10 thousandths is typical for both the exhaust and the intake, but with the ACR cam, it says here power plus camshaft should be 6 thousandths intake and 8 thousandths exhaust. So that's what I'm about to do now. So when I'm back, all that should be done. I'm doing a trial fit of everything now. The carburetor, intake manifold, and the tubular headers. And I did run into a problem down, you can't really see it too well from this angle, but the shackles appear to be, they're not touching it right now, but they could if you extend the shackle when hitting a bump. So I'm going to look into what I can do about that. Maybe I can turn the bolts around or something, but I got to take things apart and take a look at that. I'll give you a better view on the bottom here. Underneath, you can see that. Not good. Need to do something about that. And then my situation is a little different than most people. I have to tie into a stainless steel system that I already had, so that's in the works right now. Alright, so I solved this problem. I ended up turning the shackle bolts around, which may have seemed obvious. However, not so much, because if you've ever done shackle changes or installed them before, you'll know that the inboard side is threaded on the top and the bottom. So what I had to do was drill out the threads on that side and weld up the other side and drill and tap the outboard side. So now I basically just have those bolts reversed, and because there's more stick out on the nut side. So now everything's clearing just fine. So now I have to take care of welding this together. All right. 3 hours later, and I now have my tubular headers in. All in all, I don't think it was too bad. The hardest part was probably fixing the shackles that I talked about already, and then just working with exhaust. I can't stand it, even though this was not that bad because it's stainless on the back end. So I did have to do some welding here, and I put some high temp paint on it. Hopefully that'll help a little bit. But that's a weld going from stainless to just iron. So, but you can see the shackles all set, and you can see the clearance with the headers and the shackles work great. On to the carburetor and the bracketry that I need to work on, the levers. And at first I was thinking it was going to be hard, but after reading the instructions and thinking about it, I kind of think it won't be that bad. I just have to, on a left-hand drive car, you have to take that bracket off right here. This bracket needs to come off, and then you cut it down here lower and you put another hole in. So essentially what you're doing is you're moving that hole down here. You have to take that bend out of there so it's all vertical. Otherwise, if you put the hole down here, this would be sticking out at an angle. So it really doesn't look that bad. We'll find out. I'll keep you posted. The throttle linkage bracket is all set. You can see it pretty much, it's just like the drawing that was provided with the kit. So I'm ready to put this on, get things linked up, and get real close to finishing up here. So for whatever reason, I'm not sure why the instructions would be off on this. Maybe it's because my truck is configured different. I kind of doubt it though. Or maybe the engine is shifted over or something. But anyway, I had to drill this hole instead of using this hole for the pivot because it was basically the linkage was hitting the bottom of the carburetor. It was hitting right in this area right here. So it's pretty bad too. So anyway, I'm just moving the hole down there, and all thread comes with the kit, so you can adjust whatever length you need for linking up to the throttle arm on the carburetor. So that's what I'm going to do. No big deal, it's just I had to take it all off and drill another hole, so that's how it had to be. The lever arm for the throttle was only this long. It ended right here. You can see I welded an extension on. The extension is the same length as the Weber carb arm that was on the throttle on that carburetor. And what I also ended up doing is switching back to the original lever. Let's see here. Let's see if I can get a good angle for you guys. So you can see here I ended up putting the original one on instead of using the one that came with the kit, and I had to do a little bit of custom work here. So normally it would be attached way up here, and I had to put a hole down lower here. You kind of use you know these attachments as a reference. And then I put the old arm on, and I ended up putting a slight bend in here, and everything clears. I get the full throw on the throttle now. Before, with the other linkage, I wasn't getting complete opening of the butterfly valve. So anyway, and plus it was very fiddly. Things were getting in the way. So by putting this rod on, I got the original swing radius that came with it, and then by going to the by going to the extended arm here, everything works out perfectly. So I'm very happy with it right now. We'll see how it works, but also clearing the choke right here, because when you choke it, this moves down, and that can't hit anything, and that was my original problem. Things were hitting. That's why I had to move that bell crank down into another hole, my custom hole. So everything seems to be working fine. I have the spring down there preloaded properly. I'm getting the full throw on the throttle. It stops where it should. So anyway, it's I'm about ready to bolt this thing on and almost ready to start this thing. Well, installation is complete, and I couldn't be happier with it. The hardest part probably was the linkage for the carburetor, and that's including putting the head on and the cam and all that, doing the timing for the cam. I think the linkage was the most difficult portion of it, just because I think these engines might just be placed a little bit differently on every truck, and so getting all that perfect is not so easy. But anyway, it's perfect now, and boy does it have a lot of power. I will have no problem pulling a trailer with this thing now. I had it out on the road just not very long, but you know, just hitting the throttle going 50 miles an hour, it'll just take off. Even at the lower speeds, in a higher gear, it's got plenty of torque. I do have to adjust the distributor a little bit. I feel a little bit of pinging. I have not the highest grade octane or higher octane gasoline in here, so I'm gonna probably experiment with different octanes, see what works best for me. Yeah, you know, it's just about a fuel economy situation with the octane, because I can always adjust the timing. So anyway, yeah, I'm really happy with it. I ended up putting a oil catch can in, as you can see here. Just this is my breather line for the crankcase. I just kind of tidy things up a little bit. I have some work to do electrically over on this side. I want to put a fuse box. I have one over in the front here, but I want to put it, kind of mount things over here where it's really easy to get to. Still have to hook up the winch, and anyway, so yeah, I'll probably start it up here for you in a minute. Couldn't be happier. Awesome. I just got back from driving it again on the highway. Had it up to about 80 miles an hour, and that's way too fast for a Land Rover Series 3. I do plan on putting disc brakes all around, but it's still like a little bit of a white knuckle situation. And I'll tell you, pulling out onto the highway now used to be kind of a white knuckle thing. Not anymore. You know, you just hit the gas and you're up there with the rest of the traffic.